You serious?
Hello, welcome to How to Kill an Hour. My name is Marcus Bronzy. There's plenty of ways to kill some time out there. Right now, you're about to kill some time with us. On today's show, I'm joined by Jonathan Pie. Actually, his real name is Tom Walker, but Jonathan Pie is a fictitious British news reporter created and played by Tom, and Pie appears in a series of video clips. He's been doing it since about 2015 or 2016, I believe. Some comments about his went viral, and I'm happy to say that he's joining us on today's show live from his house. How you doing, Tom? You all right, mate?
I'm all right. I'm a bit nervous about just having a conversation with someone, really. So I might be completely out of small talk. I might have nothing because I've been out of practice for about, how long has it been? I don't even know how long it's been, but what, 5-6 weeks now?
Week 5 or week 6 for people. I was really a bit braggy over the last few weeks, Tom. I was kind of like, do you know what? I'm fine. Not affecting me at all. I don't really like talking to people, but now I'm a bit like, I've not had a real conversation, a face-to-face conversation with somebody outside of my building for over a month. It's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really strange. And then the only conversations you do have are like this over sort of, Skype or whatever. And they're always a little bit awkward. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially if there's more than one person. It's just piling on top of each other, shouting at each other. But for a few weeks I thought, hey, this is cool. But no, the rot is starting to set in, definitely.
Yeah, I totally feel that, man. And it's like the new norms are really interesting as well. So in these conversations, it's totally normal for someone's kid to run in. Like I was on a Zoom the other day, and somebody halfway through a conversation, you just heard their 3-year-old go, "Mummy, can you wipe my bum?" And they were like, "Sorry, I've just got to go wipe my kid's ass, because if they don't, I'll be like, you know what? I don't want to know what it's going to be like if your kid doesn't wipe their ass. You go wipe their ass, it's fine." Yeah. I'll speak to you in 30 seconds. It's like the new norm. Totally crazy. Yeah.
I mean, my girlfriend is working from home in my bedroom, right? So I'm forever walking past. She's on a Zoom chat with her colleagues, me in my pants just walking past, back and forth. I think what's really interesting is, and I've touched on it with the thing that I've been doing with Pie, is that you're stuck, the professional and the personal, the domestic and the professional are colliding, right? So you're starting to see your colleagues as not only your colleagues or the annoying guy from HR, or they're a dad, a husband. Do you know what I mean? They're real people. Exactly. And actually, you might not like them in an office scenario, but outside of that, you can kind of go, actually, you're an all right bloke. But I hate you in the context of my office or whatever. So we're learning a lot about each other.
Exactly. But then when you're out and about, it's like the opposite. People that I wouldn't mind having a conversation with. That whole 2 meters thing, I'm a little bit paranoid about staying around somebody, even if it's within 2 meters. Like I saw a mate at the on the way out of the supermarket the other day. I do my little bi-weekly shop, and I was just like trying to creep away as we're talking, thinking we could probably just do this over the phone, mate. I don't know if I need to talk to you in person.
Because also everyone's version of 2 meters is very different. Do you know what I mean? So, like, for some people, they think they're really social distancing, and they're right up in your face.
Oh, man.
So it's just stay away. I was in the supermarket the other day, and I could hear someone like 2 aisles down hacking their guts up. And you're like, I'm getting out of here. Do you know what I mean? I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. Drop the basket.
Exactly. Anyway, right, so we're here to talk about Jonathan Pie. I got a quick clip, just in case anybody hasn't heard about him. This is what Jonathan Pie is about. This is one of my favourite clips, by the way, Tom.
Up to now, regular hand washing has been the only general advice, but now the government has entered the delay phase. Earlier, I spoke to Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty, who said this phase will involve asking members of the general public to do different things than they would normally do. What, like regularly washing your hands? I mean, who does that, for God's sake? Washing your hands? Maybe after I've gone for a shit.
There's a little taste of Jonathan Pie there.
That's the last one I filmed before lockdown, if you see what I mean. So it's really weird hearing that. It just seems like a different time. Do you know what I mean? Out on College Green around Westminster.
When you could go and film outside. I mean, how does that feel now, knowing that you've now switched over to Pie-solation is what you're cracking on with now, right?
Well, what's really annoying is I spend because I do these clips like normally about once a week. Yeah. And a real difficult thing to do is find somewhere that looks iconic, that isn't too busy, because otherwise I'll draw a crowd or people all sort of want to stop and take selfies or whatever. So, and now if I go for a little cycle around town on my daily sort of exercise, these places are empty. And you're like, I could film wherever I like now, but I'm not allowed because everyone will be going, no, you're not allowed out. So, so that's not. It's been really interesting to sort of bring him into his house because, again, like we were just discussing, the domestic and the personal and the domestic and the professional are colliding, and that's kind of what I'm doing with Pi, really. And I've sort of made a choice to make it this little series as long as we're locked down, a bit more broadly comic, but rather than too. I mean, of course, it's the right time for us to be questioning our politicians and our leaders because it's the biggest news story I'll ever cover. But also, it's a bit difficult to get the tone right when you have got tens of thousands of people dying. How do you write a comedy about that? So I'm sort of trying to shy away from it being too overtly political and too overtly politically satirical, which is what I normally do, and make it a little bit more fun, I think. And watching this character that we've only really learned a little bit about. We know that he's angry and that he hates his job, but now we're sort of learning that he's estranged from his son and he's divorced and he's bored and he's living in a crappy council flat, which you don't expect broadcasters to be poor. Do you know what I mean? You assume if you know what I mean? You assume that if they've even appeared in one advert, do you know what I mean? Or, you know, one episode of Holby City, you must be loaded. Nah, it's not quite like that. So I'm really enjoying exploring him as a full rounded character, really, which is what I do with the live shows a bit more. You learn a lot more about him that you can't really do in those 3-minute little viral clips, you know.
Yeah, like I feel like when I'm watching a few of the Pisolation clips, I feel there's a lot of Tom coming through on that as well. There's a lot of real frustration that you're channeling through Pi.
Yeah, I mean, I did a thing about the most recent episode, was where I cut my hair really badly, and everyone was sort of commenting about, oh, wow, you really for your art, you don't mind looking ridiculous. You go, no, this is my actual hair. This is actually it. You know. I really want a haircut, man. I really just want to, you know, that's the thing I'm missing the most. That and a pint.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A pub. Do you know what? The last thing I did before lockdown, the last social event I did was drinks at a bar, and I took it for granted. I left early. I was like, you know, I'll just go home. Pubs will be there. I wish I stayed there for one more Guinness.
One more and a shot. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. If I knew, I probably would have stayed there till closing. They'd have had to kick me out. But like. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like, I don't know if we'll ever. I don't want to kind of get too much into future gazing, but I don't know if we'll ever look at going out in the same way. I feel like we've taken it for granted for a lot of our lives. Like, I think now going out is going to be as special as it was when I was 18 and I was allowed to go out raving for the first time.
Well, I think I said the other day that I'm really looking forward to that first pint in the pub, and actually I'm not. I'm looking forward to that first pint the third time I go to a pub, because the first couple of times you're going to be like, stay away, you know, wiping the beer around and just, you know, all those old habits. It'll be a few months in when you sat there going, do you remember when we weren't allowed to do this? You know, cheers. But I think I was thinking about that this morning. I think it's going to take a real long time for things like live comedy or theatre, or I mean, can you imagine going to like a concert in an arena, you know, with 20,000 other people? It's going to take a long time for that to be normal again, I think. And I think, you know, like I know it's not really, you know, there's a really great Alan Partridge line where someone says something, goes, oh, and they say nurses have it tough. You know, I'm not here moaning as this sort of, you know, I know that there are people out there that are really putting their lives at risk. But I do fear for like the theatre industry and the live music industry. I think it'll take a good few years to recover. And I'm just glad that I'm in a position where actually my main outlet is that I can do it from home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we have Russell Kane was on the episode before this, and he said exactly the same thing. He thinks theatres will be the last thing that kind of we are able to access again. So it's important that comedians like yourself that have an online offering really utilize it. And I suppose you're really glad now that you've kind of built that base before doing live, right?
In a way, I mean, it's all been an accident, this career that I've found. But yeah, no, that's advantageous. With Russell Kane as well, he's primed because he does it anyway. He does these almost daily rants on camera, and he's been doing it for ages. So he's slipped into that really easily as a comedian. But I know a lot of comedians that have found it really tough. I mean, I've seen a lot of the comedy world are doing sort of live, comedians from their bedroom kind of thing. It's one of those art forms that needs that laughter, those beats. You know, I mean, when I'm writing for a live show, you almost put the pause in, assuming there'll be a laugh. It's horrible when there isn't. Do you know what I mean? And that's the other thing I think when we go back to normal, especially for comedy, you know, someone in the audience coughs for about the next 2 years. That's it. You've just killed the joke dead because everyone's just like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to take a long time to recover it.
You better work on some material for when somebody coughs, because that is an inevitability. So you're going to have to make sure you got some quick fire things to
I've already been thinking about that. If in the first few minutes, if you can address that, and then you can sort of move on, you know.
Yeah. So the tour, what can we expect from the tour? What can we expect from a tour? What, like you said that you get to see some different angles of Pi. When you do get to see a live show, how do you bring that across? Because I'm used to seeing you outside, you know, a political building or something that looks like that, kind of reporting, and then finishing off kind of what seems like a very serious report, and then it's the rant that we're kind of waiting for, the juicy bit.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing I've got to approach when I'm writing a live show, which is him on stage talking for an hour and 15 minutes, is you've got to go, right, why would Jonathan Pie, reporter, be stood on a stage talking to people? Because he's not a comedian, he's not, the character isn't, you know. So the first live show I ever did, he was presenting, you know, in Children in Need, where it's from the main studio in London, but every now and then they go to some poor, a radio disc jockey or something who's in a sports centre in Wigan, who's got, do you know what I mean? Who's got, oh God. So it was like, well, what happens? You're there for 30 seconds with Jonathan Pie in Wigan. What happens afterwards? Well, he's got to chat to the audience. So that's what the first one was. The second one was him. You've got to find the context of why he's there. And this was him. He was trying to do, it was like a non-to-air pilot for a new political show that he wanted. Everything went wrong. And this one, I thought it would be really interesting right at the start of the show, we learn that Jonathan Pie's been fired from his job for an on-air gaffe. And this is his, as he calls it, his apology tour. He's going around, he's trying to explain himself. And essentially, although, you know, a lot of, I mean, if this show ever gets back on the stage, I'm going to have to rewrite it quite vigorously, because originally it was all about Brexit. Who cares about that anymore? Do you know what I mean? Coronavirus is hit. But it was all, the story was really about cancel culture and how one on-air gaffe, how one misplaced word can ruin careers these days. And it's happening kind of more and more, sometimes with justification, but sometimes I think you've got to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think what was interesting, I don't know if you have read about the newsreader Alistair Stewart, who he's the longest serving ITN newsreader, and he wrote a tweet that was deemed to be racially sensitive. But if you kind of take into the context of what he meant, I don't think anyone could seriously construe it that way. But also, it was kind of the Twitterati, if you like, judge, jury, and executioner, right? And this is what happens to Pie in this show. He kind of gets caught, but there is no. His career's over, you know, overnight. Do you know what I mean? Because people have, you know. So I think it's really interesting, and also with regards to the show, what Pie does do something. There's no doubt he did something that was pretty wrong, but I suppose what the show is about, I mean, he says it near the end of the show, what happened to redemption? It's not about forgiveness, but what happened to allowing someone the ability to redeem themselves, to change their mind, to become better, you know. So there are these sort of, and also we live in an age, especially with Brexit, with Trump and all of that, where everyone all that matters these days is being right. I'm right. It doesn't matter about changing the world. It's just about proving you're right, and that's all anyone's interested in. And what happened to listening to someone, even if you think they're wrong, and having a debate about it, and all those sorts of things, littered with lots of swear words. That's the pie formula. Really.
I mean, there's one. Listen, it's a good formula. I love it. But like, I generally in conversation, I find conversations with people that agree with everything I say some of the most tedious conversations ever. Like, and I don't just like to be challenged as in, challenge me so we can argue, but I like to be challenged in my way of thinking, because I think it helps me to promote thinking of things from another angle. Sometimes it isn't as easy as right or wrong, right? And I think sometimes in politics that's the case as well.
I think Brexit was a real real moment, really, where that really came to the fore. I mean, Brexit, the Brexit result really changed me politically, and not for the reasons that many people would expect. I was massively shocked by the Brexit result. I didn't see it coming. I don't think anyone realistically did. But what shocked me the most was the day after and the subsequent days after that result is the amount of people on my Facebook page, like-minded people who I would imagine have exactly the same voting record as I do, saying, if you voted differently to me, if you voted Leave, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Racist scum, this, that, the other, And that shocked me. That was the thing that shocked me the most, was this lack of discourse. And it suddenly dawned on me, maybe that attitude helped the vote go the way it did. And I think the same happened a little bit quite a lot with Trump. Yeah, let's be honest, if it's difficult to get your head around why anyone would think about voting for Trump, right? But if you're not willing to chat to those people, because you're willing to dismiss them out of hand, normally we dismiss them as, oh, you must be a bigot. What you're basically saying is, I don't want your vote. I don't want your vote. So they don't vote for you. So, exactly. I think that the voting to leave the EU was a mistake. But I might be wrong about it, and I'm willing to listen to people who voted Leave, and I now know why they did, and I kind of get it, Same with Trump, really. I get it. No one's persuaded me that I would vote other than I would, but do you know what I mean? But I think there is this big thing of it's winning the argument is more important than changing minds.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you know what? It translates into trivial conversation as well. So I've been out for drinks. Remember when you can go out and have drinks? And I had a similar thing happen, and I kind of likened it to political conversations nowadays, even though this wasn't political. I've never watched Game of Thrones past the first season, right?
Yeah.
This was before the last season had aired. People, when I told them that, people seriously started to consider whether or not I should be in their life as a friend. I'm not joking. They were like, what do you mean? I was like, do you know what? Tried it. It's not for me. To be fair, I think it's a bit shit. And they were like, mate, it was honestly, I stopped saying it after a little while, because it was like getting into serious like arguments, conversations where people were stressed out. And then like, I think halfway through the argument they wanted to start, I'd be like, do you know what? I'm not really bothered to have this conversation. They'll be like, well, you know what? I kind of get what person you're like. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's what the Brexit conversation was like.
I'm exactly the same with sport, especially football. I don't get it. I've never got it, right? And in polite conversation, I call it soccer ball, so that people that do like football know. They just know to just leave it. Like, soccer ball, go away, right? But I really hate that question. What team do you support then? I mean, it's such a sweeping assumption.
Yeah.
That I don't know about an entire sort of and that's one thing about the lockdown. Is anyone really missing sport? I haven't really met anyone that's really going, oh, I was supposed to be Leeds Portsmouth today. Gutted. I've not met anyone that has actually missed sport.
I think football teams are going to have to do some real hard work to win back some of these dedicated fans, because I think these fans that had football as one of their priorities in life, now that there isn't footy there, they're going to find other things. And I think, I'm not saying
ballet.
Yeah, but ballet, yeah, you know,
Whatever,
or just you
yeah.
know, gardening. But I think people that were really religious with sport, now that it's been taken away, they're going to find something else to be religious about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's drinking too much or eating all of the hobnobs in a packet in one go, which is kind of what I like to do.
Or religion.
Yeah.
You know,
or real religion.
Just all these born again footballers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spreading the word. Yeah.
Exactly. So you mentioned the beginnings of Pi, and you also mentioned people not being forgiven for mistakes. Now, I've done a little bit of research, and I want you to let me know whether this has something to do with the beginnings of Jonathan Pie.
That's not Anne Robinson, is it? Jesus Christ.
Finally, with the children safely in bed.
She's
even got new tits.
Can you just explain to us what that is?
That is Peter Sissons. May rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P.
This is the birth of Pi, really. He's sat in the 6 o'clock newsroom studio. They're clearly gone to the sport or the weather. He's just watching the telly like that, and it's Anne Robertson, and he just looks at her and just goes, "Look at her. She's even got new tits." This is Peter Sissons, right? And clearly, he's back on air in 30 seconds. There used to be this show called It'll Be All Right on the Night, which was all bloopers, right? And now we kind of bloopers, they're everywhere, right? But it used to be on once every sort of 6 months when I was growing up. And it was like, you know, mistakes from the Coronation Street set or this, that, and the other. And it was a real big thing because you never really got to see behind the scenes of things. But it was always the newsreaders that were the ones that always stuck in mind, even from a really young age. There was this... There was a newsreader called Colin Baker, and he's outside Westminster or something, and it's pissing with rain. And he's just there going, well, Colin Baker, BBC News, pissed off, wife, 2 kids, thoroughly pissed off. And he's just drenched in rain. And I always remember that one as well. But Peter Sissons, that is Jonathan Pie, essentially. That is the birth of it. And I'd had this character in my mind for ages, based on this sort of Peter Sissons moment. It was never supposed to be political. It was always supposed to be silly little vignettes of what do these newsreaders say as soon as they're off air, because it's a real prescribed way of speaking, broadcasting, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you're a Radio 1 disc jockey, you still talk like that. They don't talk like that. Do you know what I mean? But if you're reading the news, you talk like this, blah blah blah. And by virtue of that, the minute the producer goes cut, and you go, oh right, who's for a pint? You know, you can really get that flip, you know. So that was the genesis of Pi. I've been an out of work actor for ages. No one had given me any work for years, and so I just went out with my camera and shot these little things, and a career of sorts was born. Really.
So was it literally just you throwing a camera up on sticks, having a suit on, putting a fake earpiece in, holding a mic, press and record yourself, and then just going?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, and that is essentially exactly what still happens. You know, I mean, sometimes I'm out on my own, and you press record, and you just hope that, and then you have to watch it back, and you know, it's pretty lo-fi, really. Yeah. And I suppose in a way I was about to say that's the genius of it. But I'm not suggesting. No, that was the. But that is the essence of it, and that's why I suppose it was successful. I can just get on my bike and put up sticks and record something, get it out within 10 minutes. You know, so yeah. I mean, and it's the live shows are the things that sort of elevate it, I suppose, beyond just sort of, you know, a YouTuber, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm honest, that's been an ongoing theme through people that I've spoken to who are still creating content during lockdown is how do you do it? And all the people that have had the most lo-fi kind of techniques, the people that have been able to carry on unaffected. So again, Russell was on the last episode. I use him as an example because I literally spoke to him the other day. I think his videos, he just puts his car in a car mount and then sticks it onto a window. No microphone or anything. Whereas if you were somebody else, like if you or him or he had to have, you know, 2 cameramen, some lighting and stuff, you'd be stuffed now because you literally can't do anything because you can't get your team together.
I mean, oddly, the lockdown series that I'm doing is oddly technically really tough because I'm editing, right? Normally I do everything in one take and you chop and then that's it. But this, I've got to sort of put it together. And from a writing point of view, it's much more complex because with each one, I want there to be sort of a beginning, middle, and end. You know, like a satisfactory episode. If you see what I mean. Whereas the 3-minute rants, it's a rant.
Yeah.
Punch, 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 punch.
Yeah.
Off you go. Whereas this, you do want to develop that character each time. So it's weirdly more complicated having to edit all of it together into something that's a bit more satisfying, if you see what I mean. But I think, go on, sorry.
No, carry on.
But I've lost my thread.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry,
lost it. That's all right.
I'll tell you what, we've got a clip of isolation. We'll drop that for you then. We can give everyone a little taste of what it's like.
I always thought the end of the world was going to be like zombies and shit. Instead, it's a shortage of surgical gloves and the pubs are closed. And tens of thousands of preventable deaths, of course, and a global recession. The world is on its knees. And yet, I spent 2 hours on Tuesday pairing socks.
There we go. I can relate to that so much. I did a sock count the other day, actually. I'm not going to lie. I did a sock count. 24 pairs of socks that are in pristine condition. Another 12 that are mediocre, and then 5 had to go in the bin. There we go.
Yeah. No, I did a sock drawer, and the amount of I got rid of a lot of it. You know, so there are positives.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, but
yeah.
That's a little
Big
sample of
sock
isolation. So you kind of like you can hear like you are editing bits together. There is story in it as well, and I think it comes across really nice. It's nice to see another angle of Pi, something that you can kind of look forward to when the live shows come back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a real difficult one at the moment because obviously I've rescheduled the whole tour to October.
Yeah.
And right now you kind of go, that's 5 months away. Should be okay, but you just never know. And officially, it's the same tour that I was doing last year. But like I say, I'm going to have to take a sledgehammer to that script because things have changed somewhat.
I don't want to worry you, Tom, though, but it's not flu season now, and
I know. Yeah.
Like it's flu season. Then I keep talking to people about making plans, and I'm like, I don't know if I feel too comfortable with making plans for the fall, but I guess we got to be skeptical and but at the same time positive, and think we got to get out of this. But man, I'm a little bit concerned about making proper plans.
Yeah, I personally, I can't see this. I think we've got another sort of 12 months of this off and on. Do you know what I mean? I really do, and the madness is beginning to set in with me, certainly. That it's serious, isn't it? I mean, do you know what I mean? I mean, the pandemic aside, the effect of locking yourself indoors and staying away. We are social animals, but we're also great adapters. So, I mean, what is interesting, which I didn't think was possible, is that the entire system, global system, pretty much, you can change it like that. Do you know what I mean? And in some respects, I think that should give us some hope on some other subjects, that we can change the way our economy works, that we can, if we have to, we can pay people's wages for 3 months and tell them to stay at home. Do you know what I mean? If we want to, we can, fund a proper NHS. Do you know what I mean? We've proved it. And by virtue of that, hopefully we can keep our politicians to account a bit more. Because you could do it then. Why can't you do it now?
I was going to ask you what the conversation would be like with regards to how world politics would change moving forward. I think you kind of half answered that, but do you think us as the public now will be looking for more from the people that run our country in the future, seeing that they could pull out the stops now?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? In some respects, I think so, but in other respects, and I'm part of this. We all, as a society. I mean, I'm a liberal and I'm a bit of a libertarian. Do you know what I mean? I'm a bit like, let people do whatever they want to do. And the government's just turned around and goes, lock your doors or we'll essentially arrest you. And we've all just gone, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. And in some respects, there's something a bit police stately about that. And yet it's like, it's kind of the right thing to do, right? It is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But what we have done is we have, and I think it's starting to ease now, but for a good month or so, it's like, well, look, you shouldn't be having a go at these politicians. They're doing their best. They're working as hard as they can, and everyone makes mistakes. Whereas I think now we're beginning to kind of go, all right, no, seriously, mistakes costs lives.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this today, though. I think if Donald Trump wasn't in the White House, we'd all be giving our politicians much harder time. I think we all look at those press conferences with Trump and just go, well, however much, if your politics are similar to mine, I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson in any way, shape or form. But you put him in a press conference next to Trump, you go, yeah, all right, yeah.
Best of a bad bunch.
Because he's not pimping, necking a can of Domestos every morning to help get rid of it or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump is a massive, massive idiot.
Yeah.
And I mean, you would hope that this would be a nail in his second term coffin, but they elected him the first time round, so I don't know. But he is so demonstrably an idiot, a dangerous idiot. It's not funny anymore, even though it is hilarious sometimes. But but I think Trump is a lot of other world leaders' saving grace, because they just. He takes all the heat because he's so awful.
You think I'm bad? Look at him.
Yeah. Look at this guy. Look at this. Just look at this guy's Twitter account and tell me who you'd prefer.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I might put taxes up, but he's grabbing people by the pussy and telling everyone about it. You know what I mean? It's quite literally what they're saying. Yeah.
And also, again, with the American system, where everyone's, the NHS is in no way as good a shape as it was a few decades ago, let's say. But America doesn't have a healthcare system to speak of at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and the idea is, Trump is always touting how successful he's been with this thing. They've got 1 million cases in the US, right? They are the epicenter and have been for some time the epicenter of this whole global pandemic. We've been seeing it coming, certainly since the end of January. It was pretty much a given that this was going to happen. I don't think we all got our head around it.
I was late to the party, but yeah.
Yeah, so was I. And then suddenly it was like, I'm scared to go to Tesco's, whereas I wasn't last week, But they've got 1 million cases. A lot of people are going to die there. And I think it's their fault. I think it's, the administration's fault, a lot of it,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot to look at once this is over with regards to how we deal with future things. Because I think this isn't a threat that, like you said, there could be 12 months of this, but this isn't a threat that I think is something that is a potential anymore. It's more like, when is the next virus or something going to hit us, and how are we going to deal with it? Because viruses evolve consistently, and we know the flu. The reason there's a flu jab every year is because it mutates every single year, and COVID-19 is a flu in itself. So I think the conversation around what we do in the future is going to be an interesting one. How do you think that conversation is going to affect Jonathan Pie in the future and yourself?
Well, it's a bit mad, isn't it? Because apparently this has been a threat that has been coming along. It's like, why has it never happened before? Do you know what I mean? It's never happened, or certainly in our lifetime, and certainly not post globalization. Do you know that's why it's gone like that, because of the way that we live now, really. But it will be interesting to see how it affects, short to medium term globalization, and how connected we are, and how far we fly, and in so many respects, it's going to make countries a bit more isolated and insular, which is exactly what Trump is doing, making it just this, isolated. I mean, it's hardly a superpower anymore. It's just so sort of isolated. And in some respects, we're all going to have to do that. Our borders will be sort of more important. And yet working together is the only way you can kind of break this sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It is, people like the WHO and the UN and people who are working together that are going to sort of, I mean, the idea when this started that Trump was trying to almost buy the patent of the cure, if you see what I mean, just for Americans. Yeah. It's like, that's not the way it works, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, I feel like It's going to be. I don't have any answers for anybody who says what's it going to be like in 6 months' time. But I am very interested to see how this all turns out. And I think we're all kind of just doing our best to kind of do what we think's right, which is stay indoors, try to, 2 meters away from everyone, washing your hands. What else can we do but be sensible right now and kind of. I've got to say, one thing that really resonated with what you just said is the fact that we actually have an NHS. Like, I feel so grateful, and I feel like we as a country now, everybody's really grateful. And I in a way, I know I sound like a bit of a pessimist, but the clap on a Thursday at 8:00 pisses me off a little bit because I'm like, I wish I could do more. A clap, I don't know. I feel like if I was a nurse right now and I got a clap, I'd be like, right, thanks. How about a proper fucking wage, right? How about getting paid my job? But at the same time, I feel like it's made us as a country appreciate how well we have things. The fact that we have an NHS, I can fall over and break my leg, go to a hospital, be treated, and have no charge whatsoever for it is something that we should be grateful for.
Well, I hope it makes us grateful. But I also hope it makes us look at what is. I mean, I'm trying to write this piece for the lockdown thing about the NHS and the NHS. What's interesting, I mean. What is the NHS, right? And these days, what the NHS actually is, it's a badge, it's a logo, right? Yeah. So you stick a badge on the side of an ambulance. That ambulance is owned by a private company who's making profit out of it. So it's a really difficult one to write because I'm not having to go at the NHS staff or the workers, but actually it's just a brand now. Do you know what I mean? Because of, previous governments for the last 30 years just selling off a little bit of it here and there and opening up to the private sector. And I hope that it's time for a national discussion about how we genuinely want the future of the NHS to work, because both Labour and the Tories for the last 30 years have been bit by bit preparing it for the private sector, because it will be a successful moneymaker, right? But I'm just not sure that we should be considered customers. I think we should be considered patients. Do you know what I mean? So I hope that there is a wider discussion and that some brakes are put on the NHS becoming this profiteering monster. And it's fine if opening the NHS to the private sector is what makes it more efficient and makes it better for the people who need it. Then let's have a discussion about that. But the NHS needs to be protected. But I think we need to remember right now the NHS is pretty much a sticker that you stick. Do you know what I mean? It is. It's Virgin Health. It's Bupa here. It's this American pharmaceutical. I mean, the amount of American pharmaceutical consultants that are used by the NHS. So I think we should have a broader discussion about where the NHS is at and where we want it to go, because no government in their right mind is going to honestly turn around and go, yeah, we think we should sell it. So they just sort of do it by stealth a bit. But, I mean, God bless the NHS. Thank fuck for the NHS. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, 12 years of Tory government, it's not in great shape. So hopefully this might get it back into better shape. I think what's interesting as well is, the NHS, the whole point of what we've been doing is to try and save the NHS from collapse under all this weight of coronavirus. But, the amount of kind of cancer treatment operations that have been cancelled because of that, I mean, that is going to be half the death toll as well. So we do have to look at, is the NHS fit for purpose to function as it should whilst something like this happens, and it isn't at the moment, and it needs to be.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I've heard a few reports from nurse friends of mine. I've not really heard much of it on the news, so I can't really equate this to the whole of the UK. But A&Es are a bit quieter in quite a few places as well, which is at first thought I was like, oh great, like no pressure for them, or maybe there's a load of time wasters that aren't wasting time. Then I thought, what if there's people that are actually sick but they're not coming into hospital with a little ailment, and then it ends up being something worse? Do you know what I mean? So that's a very interesting thought.
I the other day I dropped a huge knife on the floor and it sort of just went next to my foot, and I thought an inch that way that would have just gone straight through it. But my first thought was, I don't want to go to hospital.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean? So it would be me trying to sew my own foot up or something, because you go, I don't want this virus getting gangrene.
Yeah, there's people with grazes and broken toes from stubbing coffee tables that are just staying at home.
Yeah.
I don't want corona, I'm staying at home. Yeah,
it's mad. But I mean, it's so weird. It's this global pandemic. It's as Pi says, it's like the biggest story he'll ever cover, and yet he's counting socks. You know.
Yeah.
And I think although it's this huge, outside our house, these huge sort of things are happening to the planet, and yet we're all sort of working on it. You know, I'm sort of meditating 10 minutes a day just to try and ease the brain, because our brains they're like little kids, aren't they? You know, they're always you're not. So I'm really trying. I mean, I'm doing this Pi thing, you know, sort of maybe once a week, this lockdown thing, but I'm trying to allow myself not to give myself a hard time if I don't achieve my novel in this, you know, in this lockdown. All right, I'm trying to. My girlfriend's Italian, and I've promised her, you know, obviously at some point I'll try and learn Italian.
Yeah.
So it's now or never. So I'm sort of doing half an hour of Italian. I'm trying to. We're all trying to better ourselves. So we've all sort of become a bit insular. Yeah. In this odd way, which might not be a bad thing. That we all sort of work on ourselves a little bit. Yeah. And try and. You know,
Are you on the Duolingo? Are you on the Duolingo app? Have you tried that?
I'm on the Duolingo. Yeah. I'm on the Duolingo Italian, and then I sort of search YouTube for sort of some Michelle Thomas. Yeah. He sort of explains this and that. And then whenever anyone, I think I'm doing really well, and then someone will say, "Well, what did you learn in Italian today?" And it's gone.
Bella, right? I know that
Bella,
one.
molto bella.
There you go. Yeah, What does your missus think about you and Jonathan Pi? How does she feel about it? Does she see Pi as two different people, or what's the conversation like when you talk about it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, we met at one of my gigs, so she's basically a fan.
Yeah, She fancies Pi. Really. She doesn't fancy you. Sorry.
Yeah. She wants a bit of pie. I don't know. I think she can see that they are separate. Yeah. But she has to put up with, you know. I mean, she helps me edit all my stuff together under lockdown and stuff. I don't know. What was the question?
What's the conversation like with the missus and Pi? You know, like, you know, I don't know whether she might be like, that's enough pie for today, or whether you do something and she's like, oh, that's quite pie.
That's quite pie. Yeah. No, I mean, what she is she's brutal. She'll watch something back and just immediately go for what's wrong with it. But she does make me better, but it's hard to hear. That's not your best work, is it?
Salute her.
Like, oh, great, thanks for that.
That's someone that cares.
Yeah. But she's in this opposition because she's working from home, so she's essentially working 40 hours a week from home. And at the start, I thought, well, that's going to be your saving grace because you've got purpose, you've got something. But actually, that's tougher, I think. That's a lot tougher to find that motivation. I think that's the thing that I'm suffering from most, which sounds like an excuse for laziness. But my attention span is about 10 minutes. I can't, even watching a film, I haven't read a book. You know, you get a chat. You just and there is this. I think the phrase is ennui. A certain ennui. There's certain. What's the point? Not in a massively depressingly suicidal way.
Yeah.
But you're there, just whatever I'm doing, you're going, what's that?
Yeah.
Just that general sense of because there's so little to stimulate as well. You know, you sat in your little room.
Exactly.
Writing is almost impossible. You know, writing these parts, I can manage about 10 minutes of material every 2 weeks. You know, it's really tough to sort of just keep yourself going, stay sane.
Do you remember all the people that were like, this is your chance to read a book, this is your chance to pick up a new skill, you know, you could become a yoga master within a month. I don't know why they're all American, but I just felt like that's what people were like, you know.
That's about right.
You know, let's use this time productively. Together we can change the world. I'm like, but there's biscuits that need eating.
Or I could just get battered and watch the whole Star Wars trilogy again. Or do you know what I mean? Or just
On that note, Tom, did you know?
That's it. Bye. See ya.
It's great, mate. So obviously we're Cross Tech here on the show. So Disney Plus is a platform that we're not getting. I'm not getting paid for saying this, by the way, because people are like, oh yeah, you love Disney Plus. I like other streaming services. I like my Netflix and whatever. But they're for May the 4th. They're actually releasing all of the Star Wars movies that are out now. So you'll be able to watch those if you have got Disney Plus. So this weekend I may actually try and watch all of the Star Wars in a row, because if I'm honest, I always get a little bit confused, because there was like obviously episode 4, 5, and 6. Then there's 1, 2, and 3, and then there's 7, 8, and 9. So I might try and do everything in chronological order. I
would do it in chronological order, but I would start with the first 3.
Yeah.
But just have them on in the background. So you got like The Force Awakens. No, what are they?
Episode 1.
The first one, the Phantom
Menace. That was it. With Jar. Is that the one with Jar Jar? Binks in it.
And then you've got Attack of the Clones, which is so awful and pointless. And then you got the third one, which was a little bit better. But I just have them on the background while you're cleaning or sorting out your socks, and then you sit down in the afternoon for the real deal. And I still haven't seen the last one. So
really good. I really like them. I think they did the Star Wars kind of canon justice. There's always people that moan, you know, like because I'm a bit of a Trekkie as well. There's always people that moan at the new stuff, and I think when you look at Star Wars, there's been a lot less content that's out compared to Star Trek. Star Trek's like 50 years of series after series after series. And with every new iteration of Star Trek, the first 2 seasons or the first season and a half just bomb, or they're shit, or they don't really get together. And I think Star Wars kind of has to go through this every time you get a new part of the trilogy. Should we call them 3 parts of trilogy, right? Every time you get episode 1, that's the one that's a bit meh, and it warms up a bit, and then you have to watch 4, 5, and 6, and then it warms up a bit again. So you really get a nice crescendo in these next kind of Star Wars movies, man. So I'm going to be checking that out.
Talking science fiction, because like I say, I'm finding it really difficult to concentrate. I haven't watched a movie under lockdown.
Really?
It's too much. But I know it's really weird, isn't it? But what I have been doing, and I am a bit of a Doctor Who fan anyway, but my girlfriend's got really into Doctor Who. So I've sort of done it from 10 and onwards, and they're perfect. They're about 45, 50 minutes long, and it really is like that.
Yeah, of course.
And then one every 2 or 3 episodes, you're like, that was amazing.
Wicked.
And then it's just sort of like, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect lockdown fare, because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's the Doctor, isn't it? So that's my recommended lockdown watch.
100%,
go back and watch.
Yeah. Throw it on, and sometimes let Netflix or Disney Plus watch you as well as you watching it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Tom, you play a real life character, right? Well, a character that's based in the real world, Jonathan Pie. How often do people refer to you as Jonathan, or do people think that you're real sometimes? Do they think that this is actually you?
Well, most people call me Jonathan, like on the street and stuff. That's fine.
Jonathan! Hey, it's Pie Man.
It is a little bit, but actually, I quite enjoy that sort of like one moment of separation. Yeah. And you go along with it, and you're kind of fine, and not in a kind of, you know. I find it weird when people go, or on Twitter, go, "Nice work, Tom." You're like, how do you know my name? That's when it gets weird, when they know my actual name. But I think a lot of people have had difficulty understanding that it's a fictionalization of a potential political view. And certainly I've had my moments where I've never courted controversy, but I've certainly thought, let's look at it from a different angle. Let's try and be a bit contrary here, just to sort of shake it up a little bit, you know. And obviously, because it's about politics, someone's going to disagree with you and someone's going to agree with you, and blah blah blah. But I have had my moments where I have had to explain that it's not exactly what I think. I certainly wouldn't put it in those terms. I certainly wouldn't simplify it that much if I was having a conversation, me, Tom, having a conversation with you in the pub. But Pie is one of these people that his character trait really is he's that guy down the pub that won't stop talking about politics, and he likes an argument. So sometimes he'll be a little bit, you know, what about that?
Yeah.
So that's his character, right? So I do find it odd that people get offended when he says something that they politically disagree with, which is sort of the point of Pie. You just listen to someone else's point of view, work out why you agree or disagree, and move on. I suppose it's weird because I'm touting political discourse through a fictional character who is terrible at political discourse because he just shouts and rants and raves, you know. But I think people have a difficulty separating me and him, which that's fine. But it's got me into trouble a few times. People go, I can't believe you said that. It's like, no, I didn't say that. I wrote it and put it in his mouth, you know. But we look the same, so, you know, it's difficult.
How would you like to kill time when you're not watching Doctor Who? Is there anything else? I mean, you've got Duolingo on the list. You've got a little bit of streaming on the list.
A little bit of that. What else? I'll tell you what I have. I've treated myself to, you know, those master classes.
Oh, yeah, which one?
Advertised. And so I've done, I'm on Martin Scorsese at the moment.
Ooh.
I did David Mamet, he was brilliant. Aaron Sorkin. So it's not cheap. I think it's like £100 or something. But I've been really enjoying listening to Gordon Ramsay, teaching how to cook.
So what are they at?
So
I've
they're
only
really
seen
good.
the adverts. I've only seen the adverts. And let's just put the listener in the frame here. So you'll be like, it's always on YouTube or something, and you'll see, like you said, Gordon Ramsay finishing chopping a carrot perfectly, and he goes, "Hey, ever wanted to cook, but like me, join me." And then, like you said, there's a Scorsese one where he's like, you know, this is how you can create some of the best cinema ever. Like, so what happens after you click yes, I want to buy?
Well, it is like little lessons, little 15, 20-minute. They're just talking at you. I tell you what it's like if you can't be asked to read a book by Martin Scorsese, watch his masterclass. Okay. But I have to say, when I've been writing the longer live shows, there's one by Steve Martin, David Mamet was really important. You just take away stuff. It's just these great masters chatting about how to make a film. Do you know what I mean? They're really good, but it's not cheap. So bit of that. What else do I do in the day? Headspace. Have you done any of that?
That's the
meditation
app, yeah? Guided meditation.
Now,
is it Andy doing it? Is it Andy that does the meditation? That's what name of one of the guys.
I don't know what his name is, but that's really odd. I mean, I'm sounding like a real hippie, but what else have you got to do, right? But that's just 20 minutes every day, breathing, and 10 minutes yoga in the morning. I mean, just literally anything to pass the time, really. You know, but like I say, I've tried to read. I've read a couple of little books, but you just look at it and you go, don't know, man.
Yeah,
mad.
I hear that. I totally hear that. I mean, I've been embarking on some interesting content hunts. So, like, I found myself watching things I wouldn't usually. So, at the moment, I've been watching MTV Extreme Cheapskates clips on the internet. Right. So it's a show that
food for the brain.
It's junk food for the brain.
I
say, look, you can eat healthy 6 days a week, and it makes that pizza taste even better on the weekend. Fair
enough.
This quality television that I'm watching is something that definitely is I don't know. I just love taking it in, but it's MTV Cheapskates, and it basically explores the limits of frugality, right? And I'll be honest, I find some of these guys quite ingenious, like with the way that they can save money. So there's a guy called Mark in one episode, and there's no other word for his kind of level of frugality. Basically, it starts off giving his story where he's kind of got some chewed up shoes, so instead of buying a new pair, he gets a marker and colours in the chewed up bits. Cool, whatever. I might want to get a pair of trainers instead, but he does that. He also keeps his grocery bills at under 48 English pounds a month. By only buying things which are equivalent to 80p a thing, which is, you know what? I respect that. Nothing wrong with that. You spend your money how you want. When he does his laundry, though, he asks other people if they would like to share his laundry, or in reality, if he can put a couple of his clothes into their wash and also into their drying as well.
Is he asking strangers if he can do that?
Yes.
Would you mind Febrezing my skiddy pants, please? Sticking them in.
Can I chuck my smelly pants in?
Yeah.
Skiddy pants in with your stuff. Yeah. So that's weird. And do you know what's funny?
My jizz sock.
Yeah. Oh, here's my crusty sock. Right? Don't ask any questions. It's my hanky sock. That's what it is. My hanky sock. And people, very nicely. For the first few people he asked, they're like, nope, no way. But a couple of people actually say, yeah, you know what? That's totally fine. Totally fine, Mark. And then we see things get taken to the next level. When he gambles, he only gambles with money. He lives near Vegas. He only gambles with money that he finds on the floor. And he only spends up to $5 on the slots. That's totally fine as well.
Yeah.
That's sensible. And he also gets cheap drinks as well, because when you're at the slots playing, you get free drinks and whatever.
Hammered for free, great.
Then he takes things to the next level. So Mark, in an attempt to save or rather earn money, has over the years volunteered for over 100 medical studies. All right. So the riskier the trials are, the more money you get paid.
Yeah.
So, for example, for this new coronavirus, there is going to be some medical trials where, you know, human trials get paid a bit of money. But Mark's been doing this for so long that he gets free medical checkups every month to see if he's a good candidate for each study. One of the studies that they didn't let him do was this one.
They stop your heart for 1 minute, but you still breathe. Stay there 14 days, pays $25,000. But the FDA kind of stepped in and stopped that.
So they stop your heart for a minute, keep you breathing, but you get 25 grand. I don't know about you. That seems a little bit more risky.
Well, yeah. It sounds like sort of the final of a Japanese game show. Do you know what I mean?
Sounds like a Hunger Games bonus round. You can go back in if you let us stop your heart for a minute and you live. They keep you breathing.
Give you a heart attack.
Yep.
And whoever survives splits the 25 grand. That's mad.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. But they said no, as you heard, the FDA stopped that. There's another one that actually caught Mark's eye, though, and this was for 35 grand.
I'm really excited and waiting to do is this testicular study. What you do is you go in and you donate one of your testicles, they replace it with an artificial one, and when you check out after 14 days, you get a check for $35,000.
Is it to be used in sort of a delicacy? Is it for sort of local
human sweetbreads?
Yeah. Like a local restaurant is offering.
I think usually when they do this stuff, it's to measure the changes. So for this, it was to measure the change in testosterone in Mark's system when he loses a nut. So he'd literally give his right nut for 35 grand.
Or maybe it's just one of those. It's just one of those games where you go, how much would I have to pay you for me to be able to cut your right testicle off?
Yeah.
And then everyone's got a price, and his is clearly 35 grand. I'd have got a little bit higher, but not much.
Do you think it was
grand.
that game and he just went through the first level? They were like, so we'll start low at 35 grand. Would you do it for 35 grand? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, I guess we've got to go through with it now. The end of the story, I love this. I mean, the whole episode's great, but in this particular section, Mark wasn't allowed to do it because he had a low T level already, unfortunately. So the doctor didn't allow it. The doctor actually says to him, you got man boobs already and you're going to get even bigger man boobs if you have lower testosterone, so you can't do it. So instead, they actually offer for him to go for testosterone replacement therapy. So there you go. That's the happy ending for Mark there. So I've been watching TV like that. Quality TV.
A man trying to get rid of his moobs.
A man willing to sell his testicles and saying, you know what, I don't mind having more moobs. There's more me for the loving if I have more moobs. But I've been doing that. And but before I let you get out of here, would you like to play a quick game of... we call it. I've not told you what it is yet. You just told me what Mark did. Yeah,
anything.
35 grand. Let's do it. It's the Corona conversation game, Tim. That's what we'll play here. And how it works now, Tom, is I don't know about you, but I find like the conversation habits die hard here in the UK. But I'm getting very sick of saying the same things when people ask what I've been up to last night. I'll tell you what. In this game. Yeah. Why don't you guess what this response actually means in real English? All right. Okay. So this is a response to the question, what did you do last night? So here's a tester for you. Some close acquaintances and I met face to face using a cloud-based video conferencing software, whereupon we discussed all manner of things.
Had a Zoom chat.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good straight away. All right, let's crack on with a few more. Here we go. I visited the world's largest gallery of images and perused the many exhibits on display. The world's largest gallery of images. Where is that?
Well, What I want to say is I had a wank on RedTube or something. I don't,
That's the world's largest gallery of videos, though. So that's close.
oh, sorry.
Close.
Well, I just googled some shit. I
Oh,
googled
sorry. It's actually
What is it?
Instagram. I went on Instagram.
Ah, right. Of course. Yeah, sorry. Straight to
All right,
the
here's another one for you. I struggled in vain to curb my innermost desires, but alas, I am only human, and some temptations cannot be resisted.
Had a wank. Is this just my head?
Do you know what? I'm going to give you that one. It was actually, I ate all of my snacks, but you know what? That's a much better one. Bonus points.
You could use that for either one, I think. Yeah.
Almost 100. Here's another one. I used an innovative software system to test my mental and physical reflexes, not to mention my decision making.
Oh,
I'll give you that one
some
again.
sort of game, is it? Is that like I don't know, it's like a brain game? I don't know.
Oh, you're so warm. I'll give it to you one more time. I used an innovative software system to test my mental and physical reflexes, not to mention my decision making.
I know. What is it? What is it?
God,
It's
good.
like a-
Give
it's
it
like-
a guess, Tom.
It's like a brain training game, or it's like a.
So
dunno.
close. If you simplify it, you kind of. Oh, you're so close. It was just I played my PlayStation. I played a computer game.
Ah, okay, very good. Yes,
There
yes,
we go.
yes.
All right,
Very good.
one more for you before we get out of here. I watched an innovative and diverse documentary exploring the complex relationship between man and beast. It threw up some interesting philosophical dilemmas, actually.
I haven't seen it yet, but I watched Tiger King. Is that what it was? Everyone's going on about this show.
Oh, mate.
Is it worth it?
It is of the same quality television as MTV's, I forgot the
Right.
name of it, but that show about
Yeah.
frugal people,
Okay.
extremely cheap or whatever, extreme cheapskates. It's like that, but the level of batshit crazy that it
Okay.
gets to is
Okay.
beyond anything I've ever seen. There's a character in the show halfway through the season that drives in with a skeleton in the passenger side of his car, and it just sits there in his car when he drives it around. And the show's so batshit crazy that you just gloss over and don't notice it. There's so much other shit going on.
And are these people, are they self-aware that it's batshit crazy? Are they sort of slightly playing it up a bit? Or is it one of those ones where you just don't know what's real and what's not sort of thing?
I think they think they're a little bit quirky.
Right. Whereas what they are is batshit crazy.
Fucking like the stuff they do, Tom, day to day with some of the world's most dangerous predators. The way that they walk around them is unbelievable. So I think was it Steve? Can't remember his surname. Steve, the Australian gentleman that used to
Steve Irwin. Yeah.
Steve Irwin, that used to basically just piss off animals. Yeah, who unfortunately died in an accident where he got stung by.
He
a stingray.
pissed off an animal.
It was a hit, basically, isn't it?
I'll just interrupt you there. My claim to fame is that I was once stabbed by a stingray as well.
Tell us
my
a story.
In my foot, though. It was on
Oh,
Christmas
tell us the
Day.
story. Yeah.
It was, right, so I was at my sister lives in Australia. Christmas Day over there, what you do is you have a barbecue, have a shrimp on a barbecue and a beer. Went to this beach, and we're walking into the bit, and the tide's gone out, so it's only about sort of that deep.
Yeah.
It's wading out, and my sister's boyfriend at the time just went, watch out for stingrays. You've got to sort of wipe your feet across the sand at the bottom, otherwise blah, blah, blah. I was like, there are stingrays in here. It's like, yeah. Trod on one, stabbed me in the foot. I picked my foot up. It was as if someone had got a Phillips screwdriver and just stabbed me in the foot, pissing blood everywhere. But it was sort of all right. And then I stood on another stingray, and it was like, just get me the fuck out of here now. We was sat there for a bit. I was like, look, I don't need to go to hospital. It's absolutely fine. And then about half an hour later, because they've got venom in them, then the poison started kicking in, and I was like, oh God, I felt awful. So I spent Christmas Day in A&E with my foot in a saline bath. It's not actually a very exciting story, really.
You got double
now that I come to
No,
that's to say it, I got
this is
stingrays.
interesting. You got double hit from a stingray and you survived, right? But when you said you felt
Steve
bad,
Irwin didn't, did he?
Steve Irwin did. There we go. Says a lot about the man that you are. Nails, hard as nails. So when you said you felt like terrible, what did you like? What kind of terrible? Like hungover?
It was like nauseous, but you know that skin crawling, cold sweats, just starting to. You just go, I am not right. Something's wrong, it was weird. It was like, get me to the hospital, and they were like, well, there's nothing you can do.
Is there there's no like, they don't have to give you something to get over it, basically. Okay.
No, you just, and then that was that. But I did get stabbed by a stingray. Sorry, how did I interrupted you about something to do with
I don't care, man. I was talking about stabbed by a stingray. I was really enjoying that. No, I was just saying Lion King's batshit crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Tiger King. The Lion King is also batshit crazy because it's talking fucking animals in it.
I mean, that's
crazy
mad. Enough. That's the craziest documentary I've ever seen. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, Lion King, Tiger King is just absolutely crazy, man. Like, try it out. But I can't believe you survived a double stingray hit. What a way to end the show. When you said it was pissing blood, did it kind of stop bleeding eventually? Did you need stitches, or did they need to put
No. It stopped bleeding after a while. I mean, it was painful, but luckily it wasn't to the heart. So,
Yeah. So what was he doing to get hit in the heart with a stingray then?
Faffing about with it, trying to tickle its tummy or something. Mate, no. It's vicious.
Mate, it's
vicious.
like, I've not got any tolerance for kind of messing around with animals. I'll go and see them in their natural habitat, but like fucking with them, pissing them off, giving them a slap, and be like, look at this little whipper, pissed him off. Forget that.
Look at this potentially fatal, dangerous animal.
Oh mate, you're gonna love Tiger King. All right. Anyway, where can we find you on social media? I mean, I feel like you've got presence everywhere, but let's run through it all, man.
Twitter. I'm on Twitter, Jonathan Pye News. YouTube, Jonathan Pye. Just check that out. Facebook. Yeah, that's where my main sort of audience is. Facebook. Check out Jonathan Pye.
Surprisingly
and
enough,
I am on
all the politics
Instagram.
chat is.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to get into Instagram, so follow me on Instagram. So that's all good.
Wicked.
And there I am. And if you want to visit my website, jonathanpye.com, and you can book tickets for my tour in October and see you there. So, we shall see. But, all good, man.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show. We're at How to Kill an Hour on all social medias. We've also got a private Facebook group where we're going to be throwing around conversations and talking points and stuff that we might want to bring to the show, but we kind of want to share it with the community. I'm at Marcus Bronzy, MarcusBronzy on all socials. There's plenty of ways to kill some time out there. Thank you for killing some time with us, and thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Cheers.